Hello Wanderers fans, it's Dan Barnes here with a new video series we're going to be bringing here on the channel. You might have seen our predicted 11 articles on the site and now we're going to be doing a similar thing, but it just gives us a bit more freedom really to kind of dig deeper into those position by position kind of debates and really give our sort of reasoning, or just look a little bit deeper into maybe the headaches that are going through Stephen Schumacher's head. And obviously starting with a big one this weekend, Luton Town, the final game of the regular season. Bolton already in the playoffs, but still work to do to secure a home second leg in the semi-final. Obviously currently sitting third in the table, and Luton, it's a very different situation. They could still finish in the top six, but they've got work to do. They're a point behind Stevenage currently. They need to win ideally, and hope that some of the results elsewhere go the way. So here you can see now the 11 I've gone with. Pretty simple stuff in terms of the system. Obviously you're not going to change it at this stage of the season, and especially when it's been working really well. An obvious omission is Sam Dolby. If you read Mark's team news piece earlier in the week, it doesn't seem likely that he will be risked, obviously with the big playoff games coming up, but the good news is that he will be here for the playoffs. He will be available, and that's a big boost actually, because he's so a specialist. It would have been really gutting to lose him with the season he's had. But yeah, going through I guess kind of position by position now, starting obviously in goal with Jack Bonham, someone who came in January, and the thinking was that his experience, his calmness would really kind of bring exactly that to the back line, and I think it's worked. You can maybe look at a few odd goals here and there that he's conceded where you might think he probably should have done better, but overall I think he's done really well in terms of commanding the back line. He's made some big saves. He's a big lad, obviously, commands his box really well. Distribution is a bit underrated as well, and yeah, just generally done very well. I think he's a good character to have in the playoffs. Obviously, like I say, that calm head. And obviously this sort of game as well is very much where that comes in handy. Right back is maybe a bit of a tougher one to pick, because obviously Cyrus Christie started at Bradford last weekend, but I've gone Jordi Osei-Tutu coming back from suspension. Obviously has played a lot of football, really sort of nailed down that spot at right back before the red card. A player who obviously has a lot of ability going forward, a good dribbler. Maybe in the tougher games people might have questioned his kind of defensive side of the game as well, but I think he's done well in that regard. So yeah, I've gone with Jordi. Centre backs, and sort of a centre back at left back as well, if you will, with George Johnston, but obviously we've seen that quite a bit recently and it's gone well. It gives a good balance, especially with Jordi on the other side. They almost sort of slot over into a back three in possession, which is what we've seen at times as well from this Bolton squad, so it all kind of works well together. And yeah, Toll and Farino at centre half just seems like the obvious choice again. I know there's a kind of an element of, would you maybe rest players, don't want anyone to get injured for the playoffs, and obviously Owen Toll's someone who has been kind of rested at times this season because of his injury record, but I think personally, you want to go for it this weekend. You want to really secure that third spot, and just, the mental kind of side of it as well, that you want to win these games, especially, a team of Luton's momentum. You don't really want to see them getting in the playoffs if possible, but if they do and you have to come up against them, obviously, it does kind of, I suppose there's a debate over how much of an impact it will have, but it obviously does help if you can get good results in this kind of running, as Bolton have done generally. So yeah, I think Toll, Farino at centre back for me, Johnston at left back, Osei-Tutu at right back. That will be probably the obvious back line, but I don't think there's any reason to really change it up at this stage. On the wings, I've gone Ibi Sissoko and Kozio Dubry again. Obviously, Sissoko is kind of the man of the moment. He sort of fell down the pecking order, I think it's fair to say. Couldn't really get a start for a while in this season. And it was a frustrating one because he clearly had some talent, but he was, a bit unpredictable in his play and just wasn't quite clicking for him. But it's been brilliant to see these last couple of games. Obviously, came on and scored that brilliant equaliser against Huddersfield in, 90+11 or something ridiculous like that. And then probably his best game in a Bolton shirt at Bradford. Just ran rings around that defender all game, and brilliant, again, that dribbling ability really came into play. And on the other side again, Amario, like I say, there's maybe a conversation that you don't want to risk him getting injured, but I think the type of player he is, it's better to have him in that kind of rhythm. We've seen that obviously with, the way he's played, the more he's kind of got his sharpness up, got his fitness back. So I think that is probably the best way to go with him. Obviously, he's someone who's had such a huge impact on Bolton's season, and especially after Corey Blackett-Taylor got injured, having him back has been such a big boost. And yeah, I can only see him having a big say on the playoffs again. In the midfield, we've got Josh Sheehan and Ruben Rodriguez again. Similar thinking, really. It's been working well. No real point in switching it up. I know, obviously, you've got Zav Simons back in the mix now. Ethan Errahan perhaps could come back into the squad, and they're very good options to have for the playoffs. I suppose that's maybe one kind of area of doubt. Is Rodriguez, especially in that role, is it a bit too attacking for the playoffs? Might he be better suited as a 10? But I think, Bolton, they've got where they have by largely focusing on themselves and just kind of attacking games and focusing more on what they can do to the opponent than kind of being cautious, let's say. So I think that's the way to go in the playoffs. But equally, you've got Carl Dempsey, who is maybe a bit more well-rounded in terms of the attacking side and the defensive side. So it's good to have those options. But yeah, I've gone with the same two as the last few weeks. And then in attack, as I mentioned, no Sam Dolby expected, but it's another big chance for Mason Burstow. Someone who, we've seen it all season. He's really got that ability, got that talent, and he can have a massive say still in this season and in the playoffs. But he has kind of slipped down the pecking order to an extent. Obviously, Dolby's form this season has been superb since he kind of got over that injury and broke into the team. And he's a real old-fashioned kind of target man in many ways. That's another good weapon for Bolton to have, a real big kind of aspect of their attacking play. But it is, brilliant to have those two options, different types of players as well. And yeah, if one's not working out, you can always make that change. We've seen so many late goals, and I think the quality off the bench is a big part of that. And then finally, obviously, Johnny Kenny. He's been brilliant recently. There was such a kind of saga over the summer about whether Bolton would sign him, and then obviously in the January window as well, it emerged late that we were kind of going back to that. I thought maybe the situation was done, but it was brilliant in the end to get it over the line, and just took a bit of time maybe to kind of settle in and get over his injury as well. Let's not forget that he had a bit of a knock when he arrived, but he's really got that understanding now with his teammates, and we're seeing it. That fantastic finish at Bradford. He's really got a knack for goal. Interestingly, obviously, has played off Dolby, and I quite liked that because he's got that freedom to maybe drop a bit deeper, to go out wide at times, but also he's got the legs to run in behind. And then last weekend we saw that it was actually Burstow dropping deeper. So really interesting again, and something that definitely will keep the opponents guessing, and that's a good thing to have up your sleeve, especially for the playoffs. So that's my 11, and kind of the reasoning behind it. Hope you've enjoyed the first of this new type of video. Obviously, make sure if you haven't already to subscribe. We've got loads of great stuff on the channel. Mark's been doing plenty of stuff with fans, with press conferences, all that great stuff. So yeah, we want to make something of this YouTube channel. We think it's really exciting, and yeah, ultimately we just need your support to get as many subs as possible so we can get monetized. And yeah, hopefully you're enjoying what you're seeing. There's plenty more to come. And yeah, thanks for listening. We will be back after the Luton game, when we can start focusing our attention on the playoffs.